ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। With two mantras, the Rishi of Mundaka Upanishad provided to us a picturesque description of how our spiritual sadhana may proceed. Use the Omkara as the bow and place upon it your mind, which is made sharp by Upasana, the Rishi said. Presumably, it is the same Rishi Angirasa who said this. At times, a mantra could be directly from Shruti, the Veda itself, not necessarily in the mouth of one of the characters in the scene that the Upanishad presents before us. Now, without going for a review of the two mantras on which we have dwelt quite enough, we proceed to the fifth mantra of the second Mundaka, second Khanda. And especially in this mantra, we have a clarion call to all of us to give up all irrelevant talk. Tremendous amount of energy we do not realize gets dissipated in this act of talking. Not only in talking, in general, if we may take a wider picture, we waste energy in doing things which are none of our business, in conflicts in our emotional realm, and in spending time talking over issues. Most people find it difficult to draw a line between what is necessary and what is uh, unnecessary as well as redundant, irrelevant. Because typically a human being thinks that I need to talk about this so that I am in the circle of friends. I need to contribute 2 cents from my side. I need to participate in the discussion that all of them are having. If they are talking politics, I too should say something from my side. If they are talking sports, I too should speak a little from my side. Preferably, I should speak something which all of them will appreciate, etc. Now, sometimes it may be true, but we become mechanical. Whether other persons enjoy it or not, sometimes we have to take it out of our chest. Therefore, we go on, and then we realize everybody is not all that amused by what we are talking, and then we cut it down. Anyway, there is a powerful statement that will come up in the mantra that we are going to pick up now. Anya vacho vimunchatha. Powerful indeed. Vimunchata means give up, abandon, let go, stop, cease to talk about anya vacha, all other kinds of things. Let's take a look at this whole mantra. The mantra begins with Yasmin Dyauhu. Yasmin Dyauhu पृथिवी चान्तरिक्षम् ओतं मनः सह प्राणैश्च सर्वैः तमेवैकं जानथ आत्मानम् अन्यावाचो विमुञ्चथ अमृतस्यैष सेतुः अमृतस्य एष सेतुः. The Rishi is making an appeal to us. Here is a bridge taking you to immortality. Rather than walking on that bridge and reaching the other shore of immortality, you are stuck here and wasting your time. The scriptures are never tired of saying to us, human life is such a glorious opportunity for knowing our true nature. That is when all sorrow comes to an end. There are many people who say, "Ah, we don't want any liberation and we are not amused by this idea of not being born and all that. We are happy wherever we are." They tend to say that. But if it is expressed in a little different language, self realization is the only way that sorrow ends for good. Then everybody would take it seriously, at least briefly, until their vasanas distract them again. The first part of the mantra does not need much elaboration. The truth, call it Brahman, call it Atman, is the one, Yasmin Dyauh Otam. The heavens are interwoven in this truth. That means heavens are never separate, never apart from this Brahman. Prithivi cha, earth too, antarikshancha, the interspace too. In other words, think of anything, it is never away or never apart from Atma. A real life example comes to my mind, of course, not of our time, but during the time of Vasishta Ganapati Muni and Sri Ramana Maharshi. Even as Maharshi Ramana was in Tiruvannamalai giving instructions to visitors, answering their doubts, and so on, Ganapati Muni, who, as we know, was drawn to Maharshi Ramana in the early years, it was he who called Venkatraman Ramana Maharshi, and he had a terrific bond with Maharshi. But in spite of all that, there comes a time when Ganapati Muni, the great scholar, terrific Sanskrit scholar, and with a command over many other branches of literature and so on, he was a Ashtavadhani or Shatavadhani. That means he could answer a number of scholars at one time, taking number of questions and then answering all of them one by one, remembering all of that. So this Ganapati Muni was very concerned with independence of India. And for that sole purpose of gaining independence for India, he goes on top of a hill somewhere and is practicing some special upasana. We have always believed in our tradition that there are certain mantras, certain upasanas, certain special practices which can specifically solve our problems, whether it is of health or of wealth or of being ruled by a foreign power. India was ruled by the British, as we know, till 1947. And this perhaps was in the early 1940s that Ganapati Muni sat performing some upasana for the liberation of India. And when Maharshi Ramana got the news of it, he sent word to Ganapati Muni saying, "Well, Someone like you need not get down into it. There are many who are active on that front. You have been made for a different purpose. Your Swadharma is different. And as regards India's independence, I am not saying that is less important, but now comes the main sentence. Maharshi Ramana says to Ganapati Muni, if you get to know the self, if you have Atma Jnana, it includes independence of the country. Includes in the sense it will have its own influence upon the minds of many people who need to be influenced. Your Atmajnana will have its own impact in seen and unseen ways. Therefore, do not compartmentalize Atmajnana separately from so many other needs of life. And that is what is meant here, Otam. Next time, if you and I get fancied, you get attracted by something, it would be worthwhile for us holding on to God. That is the language of bhakti. Holding on to the pure self, all my desires would be as good as fulfilled. Let's say one of us wishes to buy an expensive house in a posh colony. Being spiritual aspirants, we would do well to say to ourselves, suppose I get that house. I become the proud owner of that much fancied house, and I thereby will have this much of happiness. Knowing the pure self is so much happiness that this happiness that would come to me through the new house would be just a tiny part of it. This happiness of self knowledge includes, exceeds, and is far more desirable than any happiness. Ultimately, who cares for house as such? It is the happiness that we visualize through getting a house that we are seeking. We seek happiness everywhere, and superficially, it is through these objects, those people, those positions, and so on. Scratch the surface, essentially, we want unalloyed happiness and we want ending of sorrow. In that light, one must know. But unless one studies the scriptures, one does satsanga, and one meditates, one will not be stable in that recognition that all that I want will be mine by realizing Atma, by realizing God. Devuhu asmin protam. Prathivi asmin protam, antariksham asmin protam. Everything is interwoven. Everything is part of this Atma. Manasaha praneshcha sarvaihi. The mind, prana, and so on. Somebody wants mental health or wants better memory. Somebody wants her mind to be more peaceful. Manaha is included here. Pranaha. I have been saying so many so called spiritual exercises are actually giving to us better energy, awakening of the Kundalini. We become cheerful, we become vibrant. We can't believe how there is a gush of energy in us. Prana, in a single word, represents many kinds of energy. The energy of the athlete, the energy of the dedicated worker, the energy of the person who sings and sings for hours without getting tired, the artist who paints day and night, he paints, and the scientist who spends long hours maybe in a laboratory, all need energy. Therefore, a common man would imagine that energy is most important. But Vedanta says, without disagreeing, that energy, prana, that mental peace, manaha, and many other much desired things of life, state of mind, state of body, state of relationships, and collectively too, the state of the country, the state of the nation from the economic point of view, from political point of view, from point of view of general health of its citizens in countless ways. There is now one more criterion often being talked of in the newspapers and elsewhere, and that is from the consideration of human rights. They say China is powerful, but on the scale of human rights, they are weak, they are poor. And some other country might be relatively poor, but human rights are better protected there, and so on. So, think of any criterion, any yardstick. Atmajnana, we not only believe, we intellectually realize, has its own way of setting things right. Some of you may remember this had come up in an earlier lecture where I had quoted a friend of mine who is now no more, Kabir Jayatirtha, who said, for those who are going by the way of awareness, the path of awareness, there's a Sanskrit word also for that. It is called Chinmarga. Chit is awareness. Chit is light of knowing. Marga is the way. So what you elsewhere call Jnana Marga is also called Chinmarga. In one of the shlokas praising Lord Shiva, there is the expression Chinmarga Mrugyam Vibho. Mrugya means someone to be sought after. Mrug is Margana, searching. I want Shiva. I want, where is Shiva? I want Shiva and his darshan. Oh, do you seek Shiva? Then seek him through Chinmarga. He is Chinmarga Mrugyaha, one to be sought through Jnana Marga, Chinmarga, the way of light. And we had touched upon the principle that those who go by awareness, alertness, watchfulness, mindfulness, those who go by the belief that not scriptural study, not some rituals, not going to temples, but living in true awareness, being sensitive, understanding others, understanding oneself, understanding the sorrow and joy of others, understanding the movement of the self in oneself. That understanding itself will get everything for them. What about energy? Energy will come from that. That means you don't need to do any exercise, you can skip even your daily walk. We say, not exactly like that. When you are attentive, when you are aware of outside and inside, you will know that the body needs to walk and you will walk. Not because of a timetable, not because you have put it on the wall or on your refrigerator. 6 p.m., time to walk. 5 a.m., time to meditate. And another timing for some yoga asana. Then when the time comes, you say, oh, I'm going to change this. Then you remove that sheet of paper or a sticker on the fridge and put some other time. Because when the time that you had decided actually comes, you are not ready for it. That is the miserable state of affairs of sadhaks who have some disorder in them. They make the plan and they violate it the very next day. Look at that. Whereas one who is really advanced in living alertly has an ingenious way of doing all those. She exercises, she goes for a walk, she sits quietly listening to some music or formal traditional chants, etc. I have no contradiction with this. She may listen to some Lingashtakam, she may listen to some hymns or bhajans on Shiva, but Chinmarga, those who are on the way of the pure self, way of awareness, are not persecuted by timetables and rules and do's and don'ts. And when you do what you are supposed to do, feeling proud, and when you don't do what you had planned to do, you feel guilty or ashamed, start labeling yourself, I am a lazy person, and so on. All this is the misery of less mature people. The more mature people are not undisciplined, they do what needs to be done at the right time. There's a beautiful synchronization, beautiful being in sync, as we call it, between things that need to be done and their willingness joining hands with it. When it is time to meditate, imagine it's time to meditate and your mind says, let me meditate. It's time to eat, and exactly then you are hungry. It's time to drink, and you are thirsty. It's time to, or it's necessary that you talk to family members, and at that time, right time, I should say, at the right time, you feel like sitting with some family members and talking. Whereas, let me give this last example and conclude. The disorderly mind writes down, I must spend time with my family members. I have not talked properly to my spouse for a long time. Write it down, put it here, somewhere, put it there. But then, when actually you see that I decided to talk to my spouse, but I'm not in a good mood today, says the disorderly mind. We go through it, right? So I went a bit far. I am saying when it is said in this mantra, the Atma includes Manaha, Pranaha, Dyauhu, Antariksham, Prathivi, and everything else. What is meant is to be Atmanishta is to be free from the persecution of do's and don'ts, of inner and outer judgments, labels, etc. So, like Ganapati Muni was advised by Sri Ramana Maharshi, we need to advise ourselves. Don't get disturbed by small things here, things there. Be anchored in the pure self. Hold God. If you are a God conscious person, God loving person on a mature level, then that is a state of mind where the so called likes and dislikes, laziness, procrastination, being distracted, etc., will disappear. Or once in a while it may happen, then also it's a very different story. You are at peace with occasional forgetfulness. There was this Papa Ramdas, almost at the northern tip of today's Kerala, Kanjangad. He lived in Kanjangad. There is an ashram by his name, Ramdas Ashram. And he had surrendered completely to Lord Rama. To such an extent, he would not say, I am going to Bombay tomorrow. He would say, Ram, talking about him also as Ram, Ram is going to Mumbai tomorrow. And once I believe it happened in Mumbai, what was called Bombay those days, that he had given appointment to two houses for some evening, let's say Tuesday evening, he had said to, let's say, some Mehta in Villeparle also and some Khanna in Kolaba also. And he went to Mehta and completely forgot uh, the Khanna family in Kolaba. These are names I have supplied now. But later on it was told to him, we were all waiting. Khanna family said to him, Papa, we were waiting, you didn't come at all. And because he had surrendered to God, he just said, well, that must have been Ram's will. Lord Rama had willed that I not come there and go to Mehta residence in Villai Parle. So, if somebody else had done that, you would look at it as shamelessness. You would look at it as such insensitivity. You had said you would come, and you told that other family also that you would come there the same evening. First of all, telling two families that you would be coming to their homes for the same evening is wrong. And later on, when we pointed out, you did not even say sorry, etc., we would go after anybody. But his devotees knew. And there are many such stories. And we have to see it in the right perspective. That is not a license for any of us to behave in a irresponsible manner, but there is a state of consciousness where rarely such a thing would happen. But if such a thing happens, the spirit of surrender has its own ways of looking at the scenario. In Ramdas' case, he said it is Ram's will. Someone else, some other saint might say, apologize. However, know for sure, a saint, an illumined person, does not suffer from guilt, from shame, from inferiority complex or superiority complex. The illumined person is free from any negativity in her or his mind. Atmajnana thus is very precious. Tam eva ekam janatha, says the next line. Know that and that only, the pure self. Know the pure self. Everything is done. And if you don't know the pure self and know a million things, you will still be incomplete. As they give the example, a number of zeros are all zero only. But even just a few zeros with a one written to their left make it 10,000, 100,000, or 1,000 or 100. That one brings value to everything else. So you have a good spouse, you have nice children, you have some wealth, you have many things. All of them will become truly complete if you are anchored in God. Hold God, and life would be so fulfilling. Tam eva, that and that alone, ekam, solely, janatha. This is Arsha Prayoga in modern Sanskrit. Paninian Sanskrit, it would be Alpa Prana, Janata, not Janatha. Tamev ekam Janata Atmanam Anyavacho Vimunchatha. Here also Arsha Prayoga, modern Sanskrit, it should be Vimunchata, Alpa Prana, unaspirate. Anyavacho Vimunchata. Underline that statement. Anyavacho Vimunchata. It was the lady saint Vimla Takar who wrote in one of her articles that most people do not realize how much energy they waste in the form of talking. And she advised sometimes her followers to avoid talking even on phone for certain number of hours as per everybody's convenience. Some people might decide 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. I will avoid telephonic conversation. In the good old days, there was a way of living. Today, our living has changed. Our interactions have become so much more on phone, on messages, etc. Whatever. Accordingly, we don't have to follow some rigid precept. I would say even if you decide a certain 2 hour window. In this 2 hour window, I won't make any calls, and unless some call that is important comes, luckily today technology is so advanced, we can easily see. Those of you who are wearing an iWatch, Apple iWatch, don't even have to look at the phone when it rings. You are wearing the iWatch and you just see the name of the caller appears on the screen of the wristwatch that you are wearing. And then, if it is important, you take, otherwise, a 2 hour window. Some people fix a 2 hour window like, you know, personal calls in the evening between 6 and 8, and official work, of course, during the office hours. They said these 2 hours are for any business, those 2 hours for any personal contacts, and other time we will not make calls or we will not or receive calls. So formulating it is up to you, but it is good to formulate things in a certain way. Anyavacho vimunchata. Let go of all other talk. Amritasya esha setuhu. This indeed is the bridge. Bridge is always a beautiful metaphor, for the river is scary, deep waters, the current is strong. If you fall into it, you are gone. And some of our scriptures give more picturesque description of these rivers. Samsara Nadi or Samsara Sagar and so on. In that river of worldly life, the current is strong, water is deep, there are crocodiles, and so on. So it's a metaphor. And here, Amritasya, Esha, Esha is a pronoun indicating Atma. In Sanskrit, Atma is a masculine word, whereas in Hindi, those of you know Hindi know that Atma is a feminine namapada, noun, sangyartak pad in Hindi. But here we are into Sanskrit, that is, Atma is Pullinga, therefore Eshaha, otherwise it would have been Esha. Atma, Esha Atma, Amritasya Setu. So the river is scary, but if there is a good bridge, especially with walls on both sides, right? So you walk singing a song, you walk across. The bridge is such a beautiful metaphor. Because you have a bridge, you are so safe and comfortably you go to the other side of the river. Let the river be deep, let the river be dangerous, let the river have strong current, let it be anything. I have this bridge. Thus, let my life have financial problem, let my life have relationship problems, let my life have some health issues. Once we rise higher and higher, not that we become irresponsible about our life. We do take care, but after taking care, after taking whatever care is possible, we don't go on brooding over, we don't go on worrying over it. We say, I've taken the medicine, I've done the exercise that I could. Now, let it be so. I contemplate on my true nature, as the Upanishads have declared. I am Sat, I am Chit. Therefore, spend your energy on Atmanishta. Teachers like or saints, illumined people like Maharshi Ramana have said, any amount of scriptural knowledge cannot help you, but it is Atmanishta. Mochayet sakalan bandhan atmanishtaiva kevalam is a statement in Ramana Gita, chapter 1. Mochayet sakalan bandhan. Only Atmanishta, stay as the self. Staying as the self alone can set you free, can liberate you from all bondages. And scriptural study does facilitate that Atmanishta. Scriptural study gives you right insights, and we are advised to take the essence of the scriptures and then stay in that new outlook. Amrutasya Esha Setu. There's a brief commentary by Adi Shankara. We shall quickly see. Aksharasya eva durlakshatvat punah punarvachanam sulakshanartham. The same Akshara Tattva, the imperishable reality, no matter how many times we had said before, continues to be hard to grasp. Durlakshyatvat. Lakshya here is something that can be grasped, that can be eyed, that can be sighted. Durlakshya is it's so difficult to get a glimpse of it. After all is said and done, we wonder what is this self, pure self? I don't know this. Some people say, no idea. You ask, where is post office here? No idea. There was a little comic video the other day. Some stranger has come to a small village and wants to know the house of some Banerjee. And this local guy says, go straight, then where there is a tamarind tree, turn left, and when you again come to a small bridge, cross that bridge and turn right again, etc. So the stranger listens very attentively. Okay, go straight, turn left at the tamarind tree, turn right after crossing a bridge. That's a many such steps. And finally, this fellow says, when you do all that, you get a post office. So the stranger says, so is Banerjee's house next to the post office? The local guy says, no, no, that is how you can reach the post office. And the postmaster will tell you where Banerjee's house is. Only he can tell you. And he goes away. What kind of guide? What kind of help is that? Anyway, so we say Lakshya. So to get a clear idea, because clarity of understanding is so essential for both contemplation and inquiry. The who am I inquiry also is well performed if you have great clarity on how what you are now taking as I is not the true I. The falsity of the self, the little self, the separate self, the individual self should be very clear to you, and then you may question it. Otherwise, you would embrace it. Who would want to get rid of oneself? If the sense of I looks very real to me, I am in love with it. I am then very attached to it. I would be in the tight embrace of a I which I take to be myself. Only when I suspect that this I which is depressed this evening, this I which is proud this morning, is probably a thought. I lost is just a thought. There is no I there really. But I lost. I am a loser. People have made a fool of me. I had to eat humble pie. In this way, you and I think sometimes, and we feel low. In the light of Vedanta, if you get a suspicion, that suspicion can be the stepping stone to many more things. You suspect that this is just a thought which is carrying the sense of I, but that is not true I. So, this I thought, if suspected to be false, and then we drop our identification with it, we question it, then it dies away. and the true I, which is never a fool, which never eats humble pie. The true I knows no defeat and no relative victory either. It is victorious in an absolute sense. So that is Sulakshya. When it is clearly grasped, it is Sulakshita. And when it is hard to grasp, it is Durlakshya. Punah Punarvachanam Sulakshanartham. Lakshana here is to point out. Sulakshanartham. To point it out clearly, the Upanishads do provide mantras repeatedly. Yasmin akshare purushe dyauh prativi cha antariksham cha otam samarpitam manascha saha pranaihi karanaihi anyaihi. So other karanas also, other organs. Pranas are mentioned, mana is mentioned. So jnanendriyas, karmendriyas could be mentioned. They are the other karanas. And that truth, where all of them are included, tameva sarvashrayam janitha. Shankara provides another appropriate word for janatha. He provides janitha. There are several forms of the verbs which fit in well here. Know it, ekam, as the one, advitiyam, without a second, as the sarva ashraya. So the country's freedom, somebody's health, somebody getting a job, somebody getting a promotion, my granddaughter getting a proper husband, my grandson doing well in his studies. I am concerned with 100 things. The Vedanta student in me has to know that Atmajnana includes the fulfillment of all desires. It has to be understood properly. Literally, some desire may not be fulfilled, but who knows? Even as I am praying for my grandson to study well, I get the news that he has quit that course. So, you know, sometimes things go in a different direction. I I want my granddaughter to marry, but meanwhile I come to know that she doesn't want to marry. It is we grandparents who are worried about her marriage. She doesn't want to marry. She has her own vision of life. So many times you and I pray for somebody to get something, and then we get to know that that person doesn't want. So strange. In fact, in a serious language, it is said, our intelligence, the intelligence of an individual, is limited. Even if we have a PhD from Harvard, that intelligence is limited, and God represents unlimited intelligence. Therefore, you may understand this sarvashraya in that way also. That's not that every desire is fulfilled literally the way that you want things to go. Some desires may not be fulfilled, but you will come to peace with the situation. And the person for whom you are praying, she or he also, in a magical manner, is at peace. Somebody may not get the promotion to clarify, you know, but he is happier than before without even the promotion. That is more desirable than getting promotion and getting tense and one day getting heart attack and all that. Sometimes, some success is the forerunner of a terrible setback. Someone becomes the CEO, next month he gets heart attack. Then you say, I wish he had not become the CEO at all. If he was much happier in that lower position. So who knows? Limited intelligence imagines that life will be happy if it goes this way. Don't be too sure. But Atmajnana is the healing balm for all problems. Atmanam pratyak swarupam yushmakam sarva praninancha. What is Atma here? Pratyak swarupa, your own inner true nature. Pratyak is inner, Parak is outer. Kathopanishad has that mantra, right? Paranchikani vyatranat swayambhuhu. tasmat parang pashyati na antaratman kaschidiraha pratyagatmanam aikshatu avritta chakshur amritatvam icchan. So there is parak looking outward, pratyak looking inward. Atmanam pratyak swarupam ishmakam sarva pranina. It is the one self only. There are no multiple selves. One pure self for all living beings. Natva, after knowing that, anyaha vachaha aparavidya rupaha vimunchata parityajata. All else is lower wisdom. In the early portion of this Mundaka Upanishad, we had seen those two words, Paravidya, the higher, and the Aparavidya, the lower. Tat Prakashyancha, those branches of knowledge and whatever they illumine, Prakashya, whatever they cover, Sarvam Karma Sasadhanam. All rituals, Vedic rituals included, and today we have numerous human enterprises, numerous endeavors you and I take up. With due respect to them, they have some glory about them, but all of them are way down compared with pure self-knowledge. Sasadhanam, karma as well as the means to karma and so on. Lastly, yataha amritasyaisha sasetu. Etad atmajnanam amritasya amritatvasya mokshasya praptaye, for attaining liberation, which is immortality, setu iva setu. It's like a bridge. These are, after all, illustrations. This wisdom, Atmajnana, is not a setu literally, but it's like a bridge. Just as a bridge helps one cross a river, Atmajnana helps one to cross sorrow. Samsara maha udadehe uttarana hetutvat. Uttarana, crossing. This Atmajnana helps us cross Maha Udadi, the great ocean of samsara, limited existence. Tatacha Shrutyantaram, there is another Vedic statement, which is Upanishad. Shruti Antaram. Shruti means Veda, which could be Vedanta. Antaram, another. Shrutyantaram. Tameva viditva atimrutyum eti nanya pantha vidyate ayanaya. In the Shvetapshatara Upanishad, 3rd chapter, 8th mantra, and again 6th chapter, 15th mantra, says this. Tameva viditva, knowing the pure self only, not anything else. Atimrutyum eti, goes beyond death. Na anyaha pantha, there is no other way, ayanaya, for that journey of liberation. In this way, this mantra has some insights, but more than that, there is an advice. There is a strong advice to not waste energy in talking about useless stuff. As our vairagya grows, we must never leave duty. We must do our duty, but be very careful when it comes to things which are not our duty. We must ask ourselves 3 times, do I need to do this? Like newspapers, I think it's good to know news. Okay. Then there is some supplement, some magazine section, and all these cinema actors and show business. Now that time your mind says, do I need to know who are the new actors or actresses and every picture? Is it necessary to read the caption of every picture over there and all gossip in Hollywood or Bollywood? And our own conscience says, this is unnecessary. I must know some major events of the world, maybe, but so Viveka, that is Viveka. At least stop doing things which your heart says it is pure waste of time. It doesn't even relax you. It makes you more lazy sometimes. It leaves you tired at the end of spending time on certain things. Many a time they're saying this, let's conclude this class. Many a time somebody says, I'll just read some of these spicy stuff, some gossip, etc. After that, I'll do my work. By the time you finish those few pages, you will, or watch some TV, you will not have energy left for doing your duty. So, first duty before pleasure, as the saying goes. Om Namah Paramarashibhyo Namah Paramarashibhya.